Welcome, everybody, to yet another episode of The Scoop, your show to get a little hint of truth. And this is my best Zach impression, which I can do. And I'll leave it at that. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. Welcome to The Scoop. I just tried to be quirky for a while and tried to give my best Zach impression. And if I have to do say so myself, it's like two drops of water, isn't it? Like,
I give you I don't know I give you what a B plus letter grade. I think you did a
that's not
decent
bad.
job. We'll work on it. You know, little dose of truth, right? You
Yeah, I
got to get the
miss.
little things. Okay, but
Well, yeah.
all right, everybody. We're the joking is done. Welcome everybody here to the another live episode of The Scoop, your go-to resource to cut through all the noise and get a little dose of truth. What's really happening behind the scenes surrounding Juve's market. I'm Zach, and the lovely intro man himself, Frederic, of course, just joined us. Without him, the show would not happen. It's because it's from him that we get our inside information. Frederic, how's it going?
It's been pretty hectic, I must say, especially today, concerning all the things that may or may not have unfolded. Into which we get into deeper later on the show. But you kind of have this feeling now that and it's always the case, especially in Italian mercato. The last couple of weeks in August, right around Ferragosto, it gets hectic. And it's still the case. So it was a lot of texting, a lot of phone calling. Have two kids at home who are sick and tired of vacation days, so it's been juggling a bit around today. But I'm very happy I could be here with you, Zach, and with all the lovely people in chat.
Speaking of, the chat is already on fire. We love you guys, Oscar, DR1S, Takishi, Ignozzi, Azaru, Venito, 1897, Sachin, Ozymandia, Sitzik. There's a ton of you already. Nast, NoTube, Unholy Fun, Piombino, Raven. Already the chat is fantastic. You know, if you have a frequent listener of this scoop, we love you guys. We love the chat. We love the engagement. And after our core program, we go down the list of your questions about players and circumstances that we didn't cover as part of our quote unquote core program. We don't always cover every player every episode. That's often based on just what information we have and or the ones we think is just more important to cover. So please, if you have a question about a player that you don't see come up in our slides, put it in the chat. We'll go back through and we'll answer your questions. Beyond that, and I always forget to do this, folks, we have socials. Turn Giants at the Scoop Juve at Zach Talks Calcio. We have a website where if you're so inclined, we got some cool merch, including the Scoop shirts. That's turngiants.com. If you don't already subscribe and like our videos, we appreciate you do that. We frequently forget to do this sort of normal social media type plugging, but please, if you could do that, that does help us a lot, actually. So we'd appreciate it. Beyond that, though, let's get into it, Frederic. For anybody who is new to the Scoop, and I recognize most of the names here, but if anyone is new, this is the Turn Giants transfer program where we cover everything Juve transfers. And we do it by grading each one of the potential departures or arrivals on a temperature scale from very cold, meaning the deal is very unlikely to happen, to red hot, extremely likely to happen. Anybody who's been involved in the football game for a while knows that from minute to minute things can change, but this is where we stand as of today. Frederic has been getting messages, and it's very likely that some of the temperatures may have changed between when he sent me his list and right now, and he'll be sure to share that with you during the show. Alrighty,
Yep.
that's the super long intro. Frederic, did I miss anything?
No, it was perfect,
All
down
right,
to a
good.
T.
All right, good. Dan Colosimo, a good friend of the show, and the Turn Giants team in general, has just started his run. Let us know how long it's going to be, Dan, and we'll make sure to keep you entertained throughout. Beyond that, first rule of the Bald Club is we don't talk about the Bald Club. No, if you listen to us, you know we talk about being bald all the time. So that's just what it is. Let's get into some of our names here because there's a lot going on. Our potential additions page is much bigger than it was just a few days ago. There it is, sharing the slides finally. Because some things have sort of been rolled back on some players, as folks in the chat are already talking about. The Suzuki deal is not nearly as likely as it was just a couple days ago. I think Agresti and some other folks have tweeted about this. Frederick, why don't we start off with that sort of pressing and relevant news? What's been going on with Suzuki? Where do we stand on him? And what temperature would you apply to his potential arrival at Juve?
Well, the Suzuki deal is kind of fading away, and that's due to the fact that PSG are not in a hurry to get everything sorted, while Juve are. Juve are desperate to sign the keeper before the weekend or the end of the weekend, because it is my understanding that with Ferragosto, everything is gonna fade down a bit in terms of just life in Italy in short and all. And but the plan is to work through on Saturday and Sunday for everybody involved within Juventus, and they really had their hopes set on getting the keeper in before that ending of the week. And PSG is just dragging their feet. From what I could tell, it's also very difficult to communicate and negotiate with PSG, as we saw from the Koulibaly deal as well for the last 2 years around these parts. It dropped down to room temperature. While yesterday I got confirmation that was very hot. PSG and then Juve had everything sorted. And Juventus hoped to get the deal done officially after the European Super Cup. And then that's when PSG started to, do things with not so much haste anymore. So that kind of left Juve in the lurch. And now they're looking for other opportunities.
Does that bring us to our second name?
It inevitably does. I mean, he's been on the list, but and that's why I also put him at warm for today. But the fact of the matter is, and this is not just me, but it's everybody. We don't know what Carnevale and Massara will do next. I find it hard to believe that Vicario, a goalkeeper who Spalletti has been very vocal about, in a negative sense, that we are down to, get him as the last resort. And if we do, it will be our last resort if we get the deal done. But as far as I know, he's still on the list. He's the easiest solution of them all. All of the other names I have no info about. So I'm not going to sit here and spout names. I don't think anybody does have any relevant info on that. I think Carnevale and Massara have a plan, have something. I hope they have an ace up their sleeves. And if that doesn't help, I think Vicario is our number one candidate to be our first goalkeeper for this season.
Oof. Well, I'll tell you what, the chat is not happy with that. And I got to say, based on his late, more recent body of work, that makes me pretty nervous as well. As Piombino says in chat, Vicario is essentially the Di Gregorio of Tottenham. And that makes me nervous considering what damage having a poor keeper did last year. Well, let's move out of the keeper realm. Thank you for being the bearer of such lovely and optimistic news.
I aim to please.
Yes, indeed. Let's move to the middle of the park. We actually, interestingly enough, we have this whole spine of a team here. We've got goalkeeper, we got center back, we got midfielder, we got center forward. So hopefully we get some better news elsewhere on the pitch. Next two names are there are two midfielders, Kessié and Stiller. Starting with Kessié, are we a broken record at this point, Frederic? He wants us. We want him. We've got kind of the deal situated, but we need departures to happen first.
Yeah, there is a certain development which I think adds to the whole Kessié Juventus story. is that Kessié this morning turned down a very lucrative offer from another Saudi Arabian team. And when I say lucrative, I mean lucrative in the sense, salary wise. So he's still holding out for Juve. He's still waiting for Juve to make that final call. But as I said before, we need to get rid of two midfielders first. Koopmeiners, Miretti, Arthur, a mix of those two in that mix should leave. If not, we're unable to get Kessié. And
Like,
that's why I also given him the warm temperature. He's first in line, not only for his qualities, but also the fact that A, he's transfer free,
yeah.
B, he refused a lot of lucrative offers and offers in general, and C, he's willing to renegotiate his salary to Juventus's terms.
Hmm.
So that makes, for me, another person that really wants Juventus. And I think this is the thin red line that we see throughout this mercato, is that we're getting players in that really want to join Juventus.
And in the past, one of the concerns with joining Juventus was they just people just want their payday, being one of the bigger clubs in Italy. But if he's leaving Saudi, it's not about payday because he's going to earn more money in Saudi. And I think that makes me feel more comfortable about a player joining us, that it's not just some sort of money move or something like that. It actually means he wants to play for us and do well.
Also, because I see the name of Tijani Reinders pop up in chat, he's going to Saudi Arabia for 62 million euros. So, I can understand the names. I can understand that we are attracting polarizing figures, maybe, but the reality is what it is, and we'll have to make do with what we have. And in my opinion, besides the goalkeeper debacle, I cannot fault Carnevali or Massara thus far. Of course, I want Mbappe and Haaland up front, but realism. We have to be realistic at this point, and Massara and Carnevali have to make up for 6 years of unwise spending and financial disasters, and players that are on gigantic salaries. So it is what it is, and I'd be happy to bring out better names, but
Well, I mean, let's talk about it for just a second. Last year at this time, we had David and João Mario were really the only additions we had at this point. I mean, this year, Alabegovic and Randall Colomwani, I think are way more enticing to folks. Transfers. Chelik has really, I think a lot of people are really happy with how he's played and approached this preseason. I think so. When you compare Carnevale with Kamoli, I think it's very clear that one is ahead as of right now. Let's move from Kessié to Angelo Stiller. I think a very enticing center midfield, more defensive midfielder type profile. Very good player in my opinion, but would require a transfer fee and has been touted, at least in the rumor mill, to other teams more so than a Kessié. Is there really any shot that we get Stiller? Where do we stand on this player?
there is a shot. Massara really wants him. He's at the top of the list for Massara. Also, Spalletti likes him. Spalletti wants his own Lobotka / Pizarro type of player, which Angelo Stiller basically is. But since Kerim joined us, and he cost us some money, and the fact that we don't seem to shed off any excess weight in terms of players and get paid for it, makes it difficult. The intention was to sell or at least get rid of three midfielders and sell Nico Gonzalez earlier on in the season.
Mhm.
But of course, due to the fact that he has, got to the final with Argentina and that dragged on, we have Atletico Madrid being a bit difficult at this point. Well, it kind of makes everything more difficult because you have a limited amount of time and a limited amount of financial resources now.
Yeah.
So that's why I put him at room temperature. He's still a name that you need to monitor because you never know. Like you said in the beginning of the program, from 1 minute to the next, it can switch. But I'd be very surprised if it would happen still in this mercato session.
Yeah, I think it's just you have to choose where you spend your money. And if you have a Kessier, frankly, that the management has been circling for a while, available on a free, it's just more likely that that's the midfield option. Plus, one of those midfield options ended up being occupied by Douglas Luiz, who seems inclined, or at least management and Spalletti seem inclined to keep. So that's that's one less spot that you have to fill.
Yeah,
All right,
true.
we went from our midfielders. Let's go to our forwards. We've got Xerxes and Sorloth is back on the list. Let's take them in turn. Where Xerxes seemed pretty close to us because United was cool with a loan with option,
Mhm.
which is why Sorloth and no other strikers were on our last Scoop episode. What's changed?
Well, two things have changed. Jonathan David's transfer is taking longer than expected. I From within Juventus, they were hoping to get rid of him right after the tour in Perth and Hong Kong, which of course didn't happen, which makes our spot up top filled up. Then two other things. Although Spalletti likes him, it's not the physical player that Spalletti is looking for in the sense of controlling the ball and up front and tussling off opponents and scoring headers and whatever. So he was seen as sort of let's say, how do you call it? I think sort of an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
But at the very last moment, United let us know that, if we want Zixi, we can still get him on a loan, but with an obligation now. Because
Mm.
if they want to part with him, they want to be sure that they get him off the books. And given the fact that he's been playing constantly and very well, of course, United have the upper hand. And Carnevali is not inclined to go, to take that gamble on Zirkzee, because that would involve a 45 to 50 million euro investment at the end of the day. And yeah, that wouldn't make any sense.
You just spent that for Kolomwani. Like you can't. But is it like he's not in their plans really? And based on his purchase price, there's no way his amortized value is 40 to 50 million. But is that still their asking price
That's
as of
still
now?
their asking price. Yeah, especially with the loan thing in between. I think if we had some extra budget and we could push through Manchester like now and have a definitive transfer, it would be way lower. But of course, with the loan option, your purchase price becomes a bit more higher, which is understandable. So that's a path that is very complicated at this point. And a path that leads us to another name, which is the name of Alexander
Yeah.
Sørloth.
So Sorloth, who's injured, is back on the menu, boys.
Yeah.
Where do we stand with him?
Well, it's still it's difficult to say in the sense that there's nothing concrete, but it has been known that Atletico Madrid are pushing to get him involved in the Nico Gonzalez deal.
Yeah, they don't want to send us any money.
No, 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 no. So while Juventus in the beginning of July or in the beginning of August were not so okay with that because they had plans to spend that money in a different manner, which I already explained, it kind of becomes like the beggars can be choosers type of moment at this point. Given the fact that Spalletti does like Sørloth as that big physical striker up top, some things could open up, but for now there hasn't been any official contact, any offers, any exchange of even intermediaries proposing certain solutions. So that's why I put him at room temperature. But it wouldn't surprise me if in this last 2 weeks his name keeps popping up a bit more around social media and media in general.
And that's going to be reiterated in just a second when we flip slides and we talk about Nico um,
Yeah.
as well. So we named the episode Lucumi Day. There's been nothing announced that I've seen, not since we set this up, that Lucumi is officially a Juve player or that it's been agreed. But we posted it on Instagram, and I'll be honest, we almost never say that a deal is done. We were very cognizant of the fact that things can shift one way or another. But you were confident enough yesterday, Frederic, to say
Yeah.
that the deal is done.
Even though I get everything wrong, like somebody in chat said, um, but I am very confident because the deal is officially done, and not in terms of paperwork, but there was a handshake between Carnevali Massara and the people of Bologna. I'll take it even further. Carnevali Massara are in Bologna at this point, and I don't think it's surprising that if your sporting director and your CEO head off to a different city where the player you targeted is currently on their roster, then you know that they'll come back with the player or the signature. But a gentleman's agreement was struck yesterday. Now it's all about the details. From what I could tell, Bologna are desperate for a sell-on clause as well, while Juventus are not so inclined to do that. So it's going a bit back and forth about the details, the bonuses, the sell-on clause, whether or not how to implement it, the bonuses, how they want to implement it. But the gentleman's agreement has been done, and from my source, who is very close to Lukumi's agent as well, I could tell you that Lucumi last week even struck down the offer of a Premier League club and a Turkish league club.
He doesn't want to go play with Dusan?
I don't think it's that Turkish club.
Yeah.
I hope not. I hope not. But not a bad word about Besiktas, because they could be an important player for us in the coming weeks. But we'll get onto that. But I'm gonna reiterate, 99.999% Lucumi will join the ranks even before the weekend ends. I wouldn't even be surprised if he gets his medical done tomorrow or Saturday.
Now, Vesterman's teasing us that he tunes into the scoop to see a bunch of room temperatures. Well, you have a red hot here, folks, and we almost, we rarely get red hots with regards to additions. So that's just a reflection of how confident Frederic and his sources are, which is cool. I think that, as somebody said in the chat, a midfield pairings, whether it be Bremer, Lucumi, if Kalulu's in the middle of or as part of a three, Kelly in there or whatnot, I think you have a lot of flexibility and some high quality center back pay there. So I think that would be a real good addition to our back line.
Can I give my 5 cents with the behind the scenes info about Lucumi as well?
No. This show is not at all about getting a little insight of what's going on with this stuff, Frederic. So you can absolutely not.
Okay, my bad. Just wanted to give a little dose of truth.
No, we don't do that here. No,
Fuck off, Frederic. Lucumi surprisingly was the first name on Spalletti's list back in June already, in the beginning of June. And Spalletti's were really pushing for him. Also made some personal calls to Lucumi himself with authorization of Bologna, I might add. And the plan for Spalletti is to make Lucumi our playmaker in the back, because he feels that this is what the team is missing. And he wants a solid defender, but with some good passing skills, in order to, facilitate more quick build-up play from the back. And that's it. This is really a Spalletti name, and Massara and Carnevali are working really hard to get him in. or to officially get him in, because budget-wise, there wasn't any allocation for a center back
Hmm.
in the beginning. It was, like I said, one goes out, we get some money, somebody else comes in. The budget was spent on Alebegovic Kulumwani, and this is a little extra for
Well,
Spalletti.
we got the Muharamovic gave us what 20 or whatever. I mean, you get, and then hopefully, I think there's some anticipation of, well, the next slide we'll talk about some
Yeah,
departures, though Vesterman might be upset with the temperatures that we have there. Let's move on to that. There's a lot of really good comments in the chat that we're going to go back and we're going to want to discuss about our opinions about like Defara, and some other players here. I really want to discuss that. As a reminder, we go back through after the next slide our list of potential departures. We're going to go back through the chat and talk about the players that were not part of our core program, so that please, if you have a question or a player that you want to discuss, make sure it's in there so that I can find it and we will discuss it afterwards. And with that, we've switched over, I think, to potential departures. I think the only appropriate place to start is a player we've already mentioned when we were talking about Sorloth, Nico Gonzalez.
yeah. Nico is back in Turin, as you saw, probably training. And funny thing is, and that's why I've put him at warm. We know about the fact that he wants Atletico. Atletico wants him, but they have the upper hand, so they're trying to work their way down the transfer price. Uh, Carnevali was not happy because Spalletti offered Gonzalez um, a period to test him out within the squad, within a defined role. And he just said, no, I don't want to stay here. I want to leave. I want to go back to Madrid. So, that sets a bit of bad blood in that sense. And it made Carnevali even more sure of the fact that if Nico Gonzalez leaves, he'll have to leave on Juventus's terms or thereof. I mean, we'll find a middle ground, I'm pretty sure, but I think his story with Juventus is done. Even should he not move to Atletico, I think at this point, Carnevali, if he has to keep him, would rather see him in the bleachers than on the pitch.
Mm. This is the possibility to go really quick or really to drag on to the last day, which does not help us, or frankly helps nobody, right? We need the money. We need the money from a deal like this to then turn around in it. And if everyone is digging in their heels, at least I hope Juve has a backbone. We've been so bad at selling players that I think that what your approach is one I at least appreciate, so that we get absolutely screwed by Atletico, like we've have so often in the past with various buying teams.
It's the thing that is our biggest enemy now at this point, because I see a lot of people online saying, "Oh, we're poor," and that's our yes, we're poor, but that's not our biggest issue right now. The biggest issue is the time, because you had to wait for Nico Gonzalez to come back, and I heard a lot of people saying online, but we had to come back sooner. We could renegotiate. Footballers, like, legitimately, legally have right for vacation. So if he says, I'm off till, what is it, the 13th today, he's off till the 13th. There's nothing you can do about that. You cannot push him. You cannot pressure him. You cannot call his agent and say, hey, get Nico out of vacation and start negotiating with Atletico. You just can't. So it's not that Juventus didn't want to. It's the fact that, they made the finals. He has, vacation leave as is legal. And now you're staring in the barrel of a gun, because it's a week and a half before Serie A kicks off. And you have to start from scratch, basically. And I have to say, from what I can tell from the inside, is that Atletico Madrid and PSG are downright the worst clubs to even communicate with, let alone negotiate. But I've heard some terrible, terrible, terrible stories, and I don't want to put any shame to the supporters or whatever. I don't want to sound negative, but if you have a club and the club wants a player, you want a player, you have an operation in place, you have a deal in place, and they decide to four times try to alter the conditions, well, then you're
Yeah,
not,
that's
that's
that.
not fair play.
That's not how you do business.
No.
Um, all right. Well, let's move on from that since we spoke about him, Nico, kind of twice actually, to Cabal. Cabal, I think, let's be honest, has just severely struggled in a Juve jersey, and I don't think much of us see a future with him with our team. Are we able to offload him, Frederick?
We're gonna offload him, but don't expect the big bucks or even money as a whole. I think we'd be happy if we get like 4 takeaway pizzas for him. But I think he'll probably he'll probably head off to Bologna, probably on a loan deal with not an obligation but an option to buy.
Hmm.
He wasn't adverse of joining Bologna in that sense. And Bologna want him. It's still, he's not on enormous wages, but Juventus have made it very clear that we could do this whole loaning out thing, but the wages is on you. And that's a bit difficult because Bologna haven't been able to clear that out because they have 3 or 4 outgoing transfers pending right now. And that's why Cabal wasn't included in the Lucumi deal, because they have to be sure that they will receive some money for those outgoing
Yeah.
transfers in order to be able to pay Cabal's wages. So that was kind of the mishap, but also there it was kind of decided already. Cabal is not, adverse to joining Bologna. So I think it will happen, but this is typical one of those last day transfers to get him off the books for this season. So I put him as hot for that reason.
Yeah, the jump from a I don't know, squad player at Verona to Juve was too big for him. I think a team like Bologna or of that relative stature is frankly, what he needs to be and probably where he probably should be in terms of where his career aspirations. So that's probably a good move for everybody involved.
Agreed.
Let's move to Gatti. If Lucumi comes in, you have Bremer still here. You have Kelly still here. Rugani, we've heard nothing about unless you know something I don't. It looks like Gatti is more outside than in. Kalulu can play that position too if need be. Plus, Gatti's on relatively high wages, and there's some interest abroad. So tell me, is Fetty Katz gone?
Well, the thing is, there are 3 options for Rugani in terms of a loan, because let's not forget we extended his contract. He has a contract till 2028 still.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to loan him out because he won't get a lot of playing time. But with Gatti, it's at room temperature in the sense that there are no offers that satisfy him in terms of salary. And Juventus have made it very clear that they're willing to loan him out if need be, if they can get an obligation in or an option in to buy at minimum. But they're not willing to contribute to his wages. And we have Olympique Marseille, who's very interested in Gatti, but they just can't pay his wages. So we'll have to find a solution there. If need be, I could see us spiraling to loaning him out and paying half his wages, and maybe even keeping Rugani, because in terms of quality, Gatti, Rugani for me are on the same level. It's my personal opinion, but Rugani costs way, way, way less. So all to be decided, but let's see. Let's see.
Well, where do you gun to head type of thing? Is he gone? Will management work out something so he's not playing for us this year, or do you think it's more likely that he stays with the first team?
It's very difficult, and it depends on his demands as well. In the sense that I could see him saying, "Okay, I'm going to earn 1 million less this year," but that would still mean that he's making 2.2 million net. and he's open to moving to Marseille. I even heard Monaco being named. But of course, if he says, I don't want to earn a penny less, then you have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have an issue. It's hoping for that, typical Premier League last minute snatch and grab type of things. Oh, good defender, big sturdy, can kick a ball. We need him. But that's hoping. There's nothing
Yeah,
concrete
yeah,
at this
yeah.
moment. But um, I think this is just my personal feeling, so no inside info. But I think Carnevali and Massara are smart enough to at least half of the people on this sheet to move them out in any way they can before the market ends.
Speaking about moving out, we have Coop up next. Things have been very quiet about him since he
A
joined
little
us.
too quiet.
I mean, he's been absolutely terrible relative to the expectations levied on him. I think we all understood that there's no future here. But unlike Cabal, there's more of a financial burden there, and the player was also more resistant, at least initially, to leaving. Has something changed?
Something has changed. There's a bit more interest now from mid-table Premier League clubs, Hull City, Newcastle as well, but Newcastle not as profound. But Hull City is making a big push for him, not in the sense of a financial effort because there are no official bids yet, but they're keeping in constant touch with his management. So I think they're serious about him, and from what I could tell, is that he wants another chance somewhere else. So I think if Hull can satisfy Juventus financially and maybe even cope more or less, then this could be a new challenge for him. But it's already a positive note that two Premier League clubs are interested in gaining his. But I have no knowledge about what the bid will be. Will it be a loan? Will it be a definitive transfer? I have no idea because an official offer is yet to come in.
Yeah, and I think, and just doing some quick mental math. I mean, to sell him at a break even, what do we need? 38 mil, give or take.
Somewhere around 35, yeah.
Yeah, and that's yeah. I don't really expect anyone to come in with an offer like that for a player who's been as bad as he is. But we will continue to hope,
Yeah.
and pray. Yeah. Let's move
Yeah.
to another midfielder who has just been, well, I'll say underwhelming. He really hasn't grown into what we hoped he could. Fabio Moretti. Is his Juve chapter closed, or do you think he's going to kind of play a supporting role again this year?
Well, it's Miretti, Koopmeiners, Arthur, two of the three have to go. In that sense, for me, it makes sense to keep Moretti should Koop and Arthur go. On the other hand, Miretti has quite a bit of interest from within Italy,
Mm-hmm.
something that could even satisfy Juventus in a financial sense. But it all depends on who goes out first, I think. Like Arthur, for me, is deadline day, ship him off somewhere
Yeah,
kind of
anywhere.
deal.
Yeah.
Koopmeiners is something else because you can negotiate, renegotiate, and take some time to find a good destination for him. So that leaves Miretti out in the open and probably number two on our midfield have to go list. So I think that eventually, even seeing the amount of playing time he had right now, I think he'll go. But sadly, and that's why we put him at room temperature, there are no concrete offers in for him just yet. So
I mean, it's
we'll
getting awfully late in the game for there not to be not to be any offers on like a guy like Moretti. You would feel like a team like a Lazio, maybe a Napoli, would be making inquiries fairly early on to get it over and done with. But it's a little surprising, maybe disappointing, if I might say so myself, that there haven't been any concrete offers on Moretti to date.
Yeah. And just something now came in, if you don't mind me interrupting.
Oh no, not at all, folks. Like I told you, if you were here at the beginning of the show, Frederic has been really working the phones today, so we were kind of expecting maybe a text or two to come in while we were recording. Frederic, why don't you give the folks the info?
The first one is on X Twitter,
Mhm,
a message that I got in from Melissa Martinez, which the number one sports journalist in Colombia in terms of football.
mhm,
And she just tweeted, "Lucumi is a new Juventus FC player. Much love, John, and break a leg, and so forth and so forth."
mhm.
So this, I think, counts as the official first confirmation in media. And another thing is that Ederson, the goalkeeper, will leave Fenerbahce, and this was a decision made by Fenerbahce, and Jorge Mendes is going to help him find a new team, and apparently there are 4 clubs interested in or have officially reported interest in Ederson, 3 of which from Saudi Arabia and Juventus. And Ederson does not want to move to Saudi Arabia.
Hmm. Somebody somebody in the chat much earlier threw that situation out. So credit to we'll scroll up and find that person. Give them credit for breaking that
It
potential news.
I just want to say, in terms of our goalkeeper situation, this could be something huge in the sense that I know that Benfica have had contact with Ederson prior to this whole situation. So it also wouldn't surprise me because Trubin is on the bench, I think the second time in a row for the qualification game tonight. It wouldn't surprise me if it goes the other way around and Ederson joins Benfica
Mhm.
and Trubin moves towards Turin. I mean, it's hearsay and not something, but should move along that path, we'll be sure to let people know.
Well, that is a curious addition, or potential addition. I haven't watched him recently, to see if he's maintained his level or not. You're shaking your hand. Some folks in chat are saying, not really. Um,
He's better than Digre.
well,
But yeah, let's leave it at that.
yeah, that's not really hard. Um,
No, no, no. I
and,
have lawn
and,
chairs better than Digre, but
And we're going to talk about D-Gray in just a second. But first and foremost, we got to talk about Jonathan David. We had a couple strikers on our previous sheet, potential additions. Basically, one of the big limiting factors to some of them joining not only the negotiations, but also the departure of Jonathan David, right?
yeah, yeah.
Where do we stand on that happening?
I put Jonathan David at warm because there are some not offers in, but some profound talks and a lot of interested parties. A lot of people saying Aston Villa and a lot of people saying no Aston Villa, but it's been confirmed to me that Aston Villa did ask through intermediaries what the feasibility of the operation would be.
Mhm.
And from what I could tell, is one of the main priorities, or at least the club at the level of Aston Villa, for David in order to leave Juventus. But I think he knows that he has to leave Juventus. The only difference now is if we had some cash flow, we could have brought in another striker, forcing him towards the exit door. Now we have to wait for him to open the exit door in order to get a striker in, and that's a big difference because
Mhm.
you're not, you don't have any leverage right now as a club. That makes it difficult, makes it not so speedy as one would hope. So yeah, but I think he got the message, and I don't think he feels comfortable in staying with Juventus. So now it's just picking the right team with the right credentials, the right offer. And from what I could tell, is that we need to make at least 11 million to break even on David's signing.
Well, How does that make? Oh, are you talking about based on like bonuses and stuff? Because he was technically a free transfer.
It was bonuses and signing fees. Because
Okay.
the signing fees now, because they have become so apparent, FIFA issued a new rule where the signing bonuses must be amortized in the whole contract, in the years that the contract is to unfold. So, if we paid 17 million, I think, in signing bonuses, you need to split that over
Yeah.
4-year contract, and that gets you that amount. So
Yeah. But if we can't get 11 mil or whatever for Jonathan David, that would be surprising. That would be surprising for me.
I mean, if you don't get 11 mil from, you better keep him, in my opinion. I mean, if 11 million for a club as Juventus makes a night and day difference in this stage in mercato, then I don't know what to tell you. Then we're better
Yeah.
off. Then we deserve Europa League.
Jeez. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out here. I mean, I'll be real with you, Frederic. The kind of the information you're sharing on these departure lists, a list that we really need some more hots and red hots on, is not the most optimistic message that I've gotten today.
We'll get there, but I think, like I said, the
Yeah.
last week of mercato, I'm more concerned about other things
Okay.
in my opinion.
Well, let's finish up our list here. D Gray.
D Gray, I've put at warm. Why? Because from what I could tell, he doesn't feel comfortable anymore. Uh, Rightfully so. He feels the pressure, wants to leave, and is open to a number of destinations. While at the beginning of last week, he was kind of on the fence and said, "Okay, I'll leave, but on my own standards and then with a team that I choose." Now he's more like, "Okay, Juventus is really serious with this new goalkeeper. I won't get minutes in." And what I heard is that Carnevali even told him that should we not be able to offload him, he'd still be goalkeeper number 3. We'll end up with 4 goalkeepers: goalkeeper X, Perin, Digre, and Pinsolio, and Perin would be bumped up to number 2. So it's not like he has a lot of choice if he wants to play.
I mean, he could help next gen try to push up in that promotion push in Serie C.
Yeah, they want to promote. They don't want to. They won't want the degradation battle. So
brutal.
yeah, sorry.
Well, that ends our what I refer to as our core program. But for those who are used to the scoop, know that we spend probably just about as much time going through your questions about certain players, and to give you whatever insight we have. I do want to start this next bit kind of with Schmosby's comment. He welcomes Lucumi to the club, and I'm going to couple this with a question that somebody asked much earlier on in the show. So forgive me for forgetting who put this question as well. But if you had to build a starting 11 with who is on the team currently, Frederic, adding in Lucumi, or maybe just do the defense, okay? What is your starting defensive 4, assuming we do a 4?
Hoping we do a 4.
I mean, you honestly never know. And frankly, some games we will inevitably play 3. But assuming it's a 4, Lukumi's in. What's your starting backline?
It also depends on my midfield, the formation of the midfield. I mean, but assuming that it's a 4-3-3, which I think is most logical for this team, once again, and I'll die on this hill stating that, I do Kelly left wing back, Bremer and Lucumi central, Celik on the right.
I disagree with you. I know.
Of course you do.
I know you like Kelly. I don't think Kelly. If Lukumi's starting, Kelly's on the bench. I would go Celik left, Lucumi, Bremer, Kalulu. I think after the year Kalulu had, not starting him would be unconscionable. And based on what we've seen from Celik, and again, I describe him very much as a control fullback. He's not going to light it up offensively, but he's going to be very balanced in his movement, very balanced in his approach from balancing possession and defensive ability and being in the right place at the right time. And I think when you compare that to Cambiaso, who is the physical embodiment of entropy at the left back, I think you have Celik there, Lucumi, Bremer, Kalulu.
I agree with you.
And yes, Rob's Celik left. Yes, he plays both sides. I mean, obviously by trade, right back, he plays both sides.
I agree with you, and we'll have to choose, and it makes sense in that way to bench Kelly for Lucumi, because we all know that Lucumi, not only defensively, in my opinion, will be better than Kelly, but also with build-up play. I just hope that Spalletti doesn't see this as a way to play the 5-man in the back.
He will. He will.
I hope not.
At times, he will at times, which is inevitable, in which case you might see Lucumi and Kelly together. But, I mean, and now we discuss it. If we play a back four, do you think Kelly starts? You know, if it's in
today, today, yes, because I think physically Kelly is in a better shape now than Kalulu.
Okay, so you would put Kelly at left back, Celik right back.
Celik right, yeah. But like I said, Kalulu, and we all know this, give him a month of game rhythm, and he's back on top, and he's the fittest one of the bunch. And if that happens, there's no doubt in my mind that he'll regain his starting position. But today, I say, you know, the 4-man back line with Kelly, and even, you know, give Kalulu some rest. He's been playing so much last year, and I know he had the summer off, and he didn't, you know, join the team of France to the World Cup. But still, it wouldn't make that much sense to already squeeze him out as a lemon that early in the season.
So if I have Celik as our starting left back and you have Kelly as your starting left back, where's Cambiaso in your depth chart?
I hope somewhere in Premier League.
Yeah, he wasn't on our list today. So what have you heard? Have you heard anything about Cambiaso? I don't think he was on the list for me to add. If he was, Frederic, I apologize. But he wasn't on our episode. What have you heard?
No. Well, and that's why he wasn't on our episode, because it was a bit of the things I heard is a bit of hearsay from intermediaries that Club X and the Premier League asked them about the status of Cambiaso and blah, blah, blah. But it doesn't make sense to me in this point in time, because if you want to poach a starting player, which Cambiaso is at this point at Juventus, that you don't waste time in the last 2 weeks, and you go in, you contact Juventus directly or management directly, and you see what's to be done. It also could be that this is, you know, his agent playing some sort of game, trying to rouse a bit of hype around him. So nothing confirmed, although I wouldn't rule out that I've seen a lot of love for Cambiaso within the Premier League. So I wouldn't rule out that maybe an offer comes in, but then you have the difficult part, because Cambiaso thinks that he's a world-class football player, so he won't go out and play for the likes of Wolverhampton or Hull City or whatever. So you're gonna need that Chelsea, Newcastle, United vibe type of squad to bring him in. So.
Well, I'm going back to the questions that folks had. We had Trubin on the last episode. You mentioned Trubin being a second choice over there at Benfica. Is basically what happened is we inquired and they said 40, 50 million. And then we said, okay, bye.
Yeah, that's exactly how it happened.
All right.
That's exactly.
By the way, Ozymandias, I knew somebody had mentioned Ederson, and I said we'd shout him out. It was Ozymandias. Fantastic. I'm scrolling more to try to get some more questions about players. Anthony, who said you're always wrong, Frederic, says get Chesney back. We're gonna play the opposite.
Yeah, we could also
say the opposite of what you're gonna say so that we know it's gonna be right.
Yeah, we will never get Buffon back.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. All right, scrolling. Okay, that's lengthy discussion in the chat about Defara. Let's get into it, and then we'll get to Matt's question about McKennie. People, he should have never been sold. Defara should have been a number 2 keeper. What was the deal for Defara? Is there a sell on or no buyback or right of first refusal? Why don't you just based on, and I know this kind of came out of nowhere, Frederic, so I don't know if you have it off the top of your head, but based on what you remember, what sort of clauses run the Defara deal? And even if he did stay with us, was there any world that you could see where he would have stayed with the first team?
No. I don't think there are any specific clauses. I think there will be a buyback unofficial thing should the Farah explode, but I honestly don't think that Juventus had faith in him in the sense that Juventus lacked a number 1 for him to grow up with or to learn from. And I think that was the biggest issue. And we couldn't have made the Farah number 1 because at the first bad, game or weak intervention, we'd burn him down to the ground.
Yeah.
So I think with the gift of hindsight, it's all for the best. But I like the Farah as a keeper. I think he'll have a good career. But I can understand, especially at that point in time where Juventus were very close to Martinez, or that was the plan, and they had the opportunity to get some plus Valenza and with the Farah. I think financially it makes sense, and there's some things that you'll have to decide at any given point, and it's difficult. But like I said, beggars can be choosers, and whereas 7 years ago, 7-8 million to us was nothing. Now 7 to 8 million is worth 7 to 8 million.
You, me, and Beppe, G Just Juve, got in a fight about Defara at the end of last season because Beppe at least was like, "Oh no, he's the future, he's the greatest," all the stuff, and I'm like, I'm fine selling him because he's not going to realize his potential for years, and this team needs somebody now, especially because D Gray was just choking away our season last year. So I don't mind that we sold him. I just think, similar to when we sold Huijsen, that the numbers didn't make sense to me. Now you say 7 million is 7 million. True. But if he is the greatest things, or if he's going to be the greatest thing in the future of the Italian keepers, blah, 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 then you got to do better than 7 mil, no sell on, no buyback, no nothing. That seems to me to be pretty weak selling of a player that you had so much faith in.
But like I said, I think there's something, orchestrated for us, and it doesn't have to be presented in the official transfer that we have. Some kind of a buyback clause could also be like a gentleman's agreement where we say we take him back and we sell him at 2 times the value that you've paid for him now, regardless, non-negotiable, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
So
gentlemen's agreements are gentlemen's agreements, my friend. There's you can't go to court over that.
No,
right?
but with Parma you can be in Carnevale. I think with Parma you can.
Parma just jerked us with Pellegrino. I mean,
yes and no, because Pellegrino was costly to us in the sense that we wanted the loan, whereas he's on an outright transfer now to Fiorentina, so they buy him now and less, which is to me logical. If I go buy a car and I pay the whole thing in once, then it costs me less to purchase it in interest rates and monthly interest rates. So it's the same idea. And like I said with the Farah, it was or get 7 million in and a bunch of other money that came our way in order to meet UEFA's regulations and not pay a 25 million euro fine, or keep him and risk the fine. So
but you can still sell him for 7 million and then get a buyback and a 20% sell on, and
I have no. Those things are almost never published.
but you get an indication
So
whether they exist, not necessarily what the terms are, right?
I think, like I said, there will be something set up. There will be something set up. I have no confirmation. My source won't have
Gotcha.
any confirmation either, because that's very, very not off the record, but it's not like disclosed to everyone. So,
Gotcha.
but
Well, let's go from Defara to Matt regarding McKennie. I will note that these are Canadian dollars. So when Matt says that McKennie's expendable, jack of all trades, master of none, do know that he's coming from a Canadian bias there, as I tease my neighbor to the north. McKennie, did he get any serious offers? I mean, obviously we relatively just extended him. Do you think he should be moved based on what Matt's saying in terms of this jack of all trades, master of none?
it depends what Spalletti has in store for him. I find it very difficult to place McKennie in the team now, because we had these huge holes and gaps last season. You could place McKennie everywhere, and he was loved for that. But now that we're filling up the spots with people that actually play that certain role that we need, it's a bit difficult. I know there were some offers in the beginning, and during the World Cup, or intermediary offers.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them were turned down by McKennie himself, some of them by Juventus. And since then, it's been pretty quiet. I think McKennie made it very clear that he wants to stay, especially regarding his last interview where he says, "I'm a veteran now, and when I arrived here, Buffon talked to me or whoever it was and said like this and this needs to happen." And I think he's happy with having that veteran role and not too much pressure. Also, let's not forget he's on pretty decent wages. It's not like he's just doing it for out of love for Juventus. He's on good wages, and everything is going well. So I don't see any reason for him to leave.
So, well, let's Schmosby kicked us off with talking about starting who's your starting players, and we talked about defense based on his Lucumi comment. By the way, people are in chat are talking about Agresti, Fabrizio.
They're late to the party.
They are late to the party. We have Federico Romano right here.
I expect an apology from somebody in chat at this point now.
Yeah, I think somebody, and you know who you are, owes an apology. But let's talk about midfield. So Schmosby kicked us off. Starting defense, we disagreed slightly. If we're playing 4-3-3, which is what you want, and that's what we'll go with, who's your starting midfield today?
Well, since Kessié is not, officially or not yet a Juventus player.
Yeah, no, we're not counting him.
I'd go with Luis McKennie Locatelli.
I think that's the only option. That's exactly what I would do as well. And I think the way McKennie's been deployed has been further forward of the three. I actually kind of want him more as a box-to-box role, because I think his passing creativity and vision are one of his weaknesses. His work rate, his late runs into the box, his physicality, his ability to win the ball back are his strengths. I kind of want Douglas Luiz further forward, who's got very good balance, very good vision, very good passing, and allow McKennie and Loca to do more of the dirty work around him, is sort of how I would position them.
Also, I think that if you give McKennie that more central role in midfield, that opens up a lot more room for Douglas, not only for Douglas Luiz, but also for Locatelli. I think having an extra man in midfield would do wonders for Locatelli as a player. But given the type of player that McKennie is, who's always very passionate and gets his kilometers in and has tactical insight, in my opinion, would make Locatelli's defensive work a bit less, having and also having him allowing him to have a bit more energy to make pushes forward. So I think given what we have now, I think that's the most logical midfield and on paper the most balanced out midfield, I think.
In my response to Matt is, and you know about the offer stuff more than I do, but when you think about deploying him on this team that has issues with depth, issues with quality, a jack of all trade, master of none is an extremely valuable component to deploy. I think Sasha said in chat, like he can plug him in anywhere. Some folks were saying when we were talking defenders, have him be our starting left back. Not that I recommend that, but we've seen him play both fullbacks in a pinch because he's so versatile. And I think when you have a team that has the holes and the depth issues that we have, having a guy who can plug in almost any role. Schmosby asked how tall he is. Can he play keeper? I mean, he's pretty tall. He's taller than me, and I'm I think the same height as D Gray. So anywhere. I think that this team needs McKennie. I think if we were talking about the Juventus teams of the 9 straight Scudetti, I would probably agree with you, Matt, that we don't need a jack of all trades, master of none on his wages and so forth. But on this team, I think he's extremely valuable as we try to build back to the heights that we saw, at least in my opinion.
A little behind the scenes info that just came in, not world shockingly, but we saw that video of Nico Gonzalez training today because the rest of the team is off till Saturday, I feel, because of Ferragosto international trip. Well, there was another player on another pitch training by himself. Sad, isn't it? And it was Douglas Luiz.
Was he hurt?
Douglas Luiz? No, he just showed up and said, I want to get some practice in.
Hey.
Yeah. He just showed up like this morning or whenever, and he said, hey, they said, oh, but we don't have, the schedule for you yet. What are you doing? You're off. You can no, I'm up and I want to train. And he trained a bit on the pitch and went into the gym afterwards, had a swim, and went home. So nice. I mean, I kind of like that, in all honesty.
Matt says, thank you, guys. Well, Matt, no, thank you. We really appreciate the contributions. Guys, we love interacting with you guys. And so when you give us these contributions and donations, it is honestly like we had our first one the other day. I was like a little bit emotional.
Yeah. Same. And I want to tell the people, like, it's already linked on YouTube. Next Thursday, we'll have our preseason episode.
A week from today.
Be sure to join. I can't spoil that much, but just be sure to join. I think you'll find it rewarding.
Well, there's going to be more than just you and I there. Wait, are we not supposed to say that there's going to be giveaways and stuff like that?
Shut up.
Okay.
Fucking blabbermouth here. Well, you heard it here first. That's why we're called The Scoop. Another scoop. We're going to do giveaways next episode. Hurrah. Next Thursday.
And we got some cool ones.
Yeah, we got really cool ones. Like we got into a debate in our WhatsApp group about, not even giving them and but we're going to do it.
Yeah, so some of them are cool. Some of them are, for folks who've been to turngiants.com, we got various standard swag, but we got some special items. That so please, I think the live's already on YouTube, so you can set a reminder and all that stuff, and we hope to see you there. No tube, I'm so sorry. I know you posted this a while ago. But we got off on discussions. We did not forget you. Let's talk about Gil, Paraguay's goalkeeper. He's amazing. I think is he a product of just good World Cup type of situation? Because we've seen guys have good World Cups and then people get all excited about them, sign them, and then they're just mediocre. Um,
He's a decent goalkeeper. I'm not gonna lie, he's a decent goalkeeper. I just think that the only uh, issue, if it can be called an issue, is that Juventus maybe want to have somebody who can command the defense, because that was one of the things that Di Gregorio was lacking and kind of helped us lose a number of points as
we've
well.
seen. I mean, we
Uh,
saw it live. I mean,
yeah,
with several games, he's
yeah,
not. He's not.
no,
Yeah. Sorry.
no,
Continue.
and I think that's for Spalletti a priority now, because I don't know if Jill can come in and do that. And I think that's why Debu after Allison was the first pick, because if somebody with Debu stature and state of play and experience tells you to guard the first post, you fucking guard the first post. Um, but that begs the question: what if you bring in Vicario? You know, so all these little hints to me
Can you play
point
with
to.
two goalkeepers? Can maybe
I'm,
maybe Perrin on one side, maybe Vicario on the
I
other.
I told my source, maybe, just maybe, we should buy an exoskeleton for Perrin so that he's not injured all the time and just make him number one. But uh, apparently that's a no-go as well. The funds have been drained. But no, I think the goalkeeper issue is unfortunate for us. And I think Gil would have been a very good goalkeeper, or at least a number two, if we didn't have the shit show that we had goalkeeper wise the past season. I think if we would just start afresh and let's say you could bring Kaneseki in financially, you'd have that money, you do that, but you also get rid of Perrin and bring in somebody like Gil, because
Hmm.
that would be a valid option.
Hmm.
Then you have two decent goalkeepers. You have no worries. But we're on a tight budget. We're on the clock in terms of deadline day. So I can understand Juventus. They're how they're trying to resolve it, but it should have been resolved in the first week of July already.
Yeah, yeah. This is
Let's
this
be
is
honest
this is a,
here.
this is a
I don't.
big bummer.
Yeah.
Not that I know, like I see Cameronese in chat. He's real bummed about the goalkeeper situation. I think, like, look, we do this show. We're not pushing any names because we like or don't like them. I mean, they just are what they are, and the keeper situation is dire, especially after you saw D Gray against the Inter. But
There is a.
fortunately, we have potential new signing Mitch,
Oh,
who is putting in his name for Juve goalkeeper. Well, do you have any
I'll pass it
level
on.
of height or lateral movement? Because if that's the case, then you're probably number one keeper at Juve.
You're
Why not?
hired. Yeah, you're hired at that point. No, but I do have some interesting take on the goalkeeper in terms of January next season. I don't know. Atalanta tried to extend Kaniseki's contract
Hmm.
with a hefty increase in wages, and he wanted some time to think about it. I don't know, but for me, if my job tells me, hey, you want to stay a bit longer here, and I'll give you X amount of money more, I wouldn't hesitate.
Hmm.
But given the fact that he asked about it, and I feel that Carnevali Masara share the exact thoughts that we share about this whole goalkeeper situation, and I think it's the first thing they'll remedy come November, December, and try to, if we buy a keeper for free, going to do that in February already, and if we have to fork out a lot of money, they'll make sure that it can be done in June.
So we've got two related questions to kind of our midfield discussion that I want to get into. One about Taram, but we're going to start with this particular question from Cosmic about, do we envision that Luis is going to be functioning similar to Lobotka? Um, and I think there's two parts to that: is, do we want to see him function as much, or do we think that is exactly how Spalletti will deploy him? What's your take?
I think that we'll get an answer to that once the Douglas Lewis as a whole is Douglas Lewis again in terms of fitness, agility. Then we can see what we're gonna do. But the fact that bodes well to me is that he's trying to do that. He knows that he needs that extra bit of physicality in order to be of any sort of impact in our midfield. He's working on it. And I think he's gained Spalletti's consideration a lot. And I think if Spalletti sees him work, sees him improve, I think that, I don't want to compare him to Lobotka and Guisa or whoever, but I think he could be the all-round metronome in the midfield that we sorely lack. But we have to tread carefully because
Yeah.
if he's out and gets injured tomorrow again, then it's all over.
So several people have talked about, and we'll just take a look at Ishmosby's comment here real quick about Thuram as part of our midfield, the starting midfield three. Now we talked about it. We both said Dougie, Weston, Loka, but here you have Thuram in the mix. Two questions about Thuram. First is some folks say, what happened about his market value? Maybe we were going to sell him. There was some interest. Obviously, then he got injured. What do you see about his future, at least to survive this market and stay at Juventus? And secondarily, where do you put him on the depth chart in our current midfield?
First things first, and that's his injury, and it's a serious one, and it's one that's kind of a stress injury sort of thing. So it's not something that you can have surgery for and then recuperate and then it's all gone. So I think you need to tread carefully there. That's one facet of it. The other is, of course, if you're out, you have midfielders coming in, and we don't even know if Kessier is coming, and you find yourself at the bottom of the picking order, which for Thuram is good because I always had the feeling that since Thuram became a bit too comfortable in midfield and knew that he was going to start, the edge kind of fell off. So I think for Juventus, it's very good if he knows that, okay, there's competition there. I'm going to have to hustle to get my spot back. And then anything could happen because Thuram, you can deploy him in so many ways in midfield, defensively, but he also has that offensive run. If he gets that spark back, he could be a value, whether as a starter or on the bench, it doesn't matter. Then if you decide as Juventus, okay, we're going for another midfielder in January or in the summer, and Thuram does well and is injury free, well, you could get some money out of him, and that's for me always a good thing because if you're not counting the player and you're not forced to sell him, set him on loan somewhere in Greece or whatever and pay half his salary, then you've already won because you have the space financially and sportingly to get somebody else in, and that's the track we need to get on. We used to do that. We used to get the Vidals in by selling somebody else who wasn't that important to the project anymore. That's how you build a team. So for me, Thuram is a non-issue in that sense. If he recuperates, good, happy for him, but he'll have to fight for a spot. And what I could tell from within Juventus is that it's a player that needs to be motivated. For Thuram, it doesn't matter. He comes from money. His dad was a footballer. He didn't have a distressful childhood. He didn't have to fight for a spot because he was always Thuram's son. So there was no intrinsic motivation for him to overperform. If you can motivate him by putting him down in the pecking order, you could get something out of it.
And certain reports that I've heard have said that same point, is that intrinsic was exactly the word I was going to use, that intrinsic motivation. I think competition is one way to light a fire under somebody's butt. And I think the second half of last season, when he was just a complete non-factor, I think you also saw the team suffer. I mean, Yildiz also started regressing around the same time because he didn't have support, or as much support coming from the midfield. So, get time to recover, time to recuperate, time to focus, time to then, pull up your bootstraps and work hard. Could very well be good for him. And I think that's good for the team. Competition is healthy.
And the fact that he's been off the radar for a couple of weeks now is also good.
Yeah. I agree. That's while I look for the next name, I'm gonna rage bait you a little bit here.
Rage maybe.
Dan Colosimo suggests as part of giveaways, giving away your favorite, your favorite thing ever. The legendary 13 years running Alessandro Bel Piero, Farhad's beloved, or the opposite of beloved, Bell. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this, Frederic?
Well, I work with children who have, difficulties.
Oh, don't finish. Don't finish. Don't finish this thought, please. Please don't finish this thought.
No. But I was gonna say,
Don't finish this thought.
there is this one kid who has a New York Yankees baseball cap for some reason, and because I live in Belgium, I don't have anything to do with New York or baseball whatsoever. But he's really fond of that, and it annoys everybody because we're not allowed to wear hats indoors at school and whatever. But he's kind of the only one that gets this, free pass, and it's the same with Farhad with his bell. Like, I hate that fucking bell. Like, I can't stand it.
I know you do.
But I'm gonna let Farhad have his Bel Piero, even though I find it grotesque at times. But no hate towards Farhad.
Yeah,
Just hate the goddamn bell.
we're not for folks who've listened to Turn Giants for a long time. Sound drops and Alessandro Bel Piero and stuff are very much something that Farhad enjoys. But you don't hear any of those on the scoop because we don't particularly love them. Okay, the next name. Several people had messaged about Mignon. Any news there? And actually, I think somebody else, and I forgive me, I'll try to find you as well, had similarly said Svilar because Roma, there was reports that Roma had to sell. So can you speak about these two keepers?
There's nothing concrete that has been confirmed by my sources, but for me, and this is just my personal take on it, I know that Magnon wants to leave badly. He didn't even go to Baresi's funeral. It's that dire, the relationship between him and Milan at this point. I'd venture a gamble. I would venture a gamble. But the thing is, Magnon is such a good keeper. That offers will arrive for him one way or the other. Can we compete with that? Probably not. And why would Milan choose to sell to a direct competitor? Because that is what we are at this point.
You say that though, but wasn't there a report today or yesterday that Amorim just is like half the team is no longer in my plans? I mean, because he's kind of a drama king. You never know. I mean, because they just brought in the new coach. If
I'd give him a shot, and Massara knows Milan through and through.
Yeah.
And I think Magnon at that time was a Massara name. Massara brought him in at that time, if I'm not mistaken. So there is this kind of link up between, and like I said, and I've said this all along, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I still think that Carnevale and Massara have some aces up their sleeves, and maybe this
that kind of responds to one other comment from Dan. He says, even if you can't say, do you know any names that Juve are working on behind the scenes? And I think you basically just answered that in the sense that, and you've been saying this for a few weeks now, that you get this sneaking suspicion based on context you've got from your sources that they're working on a couple surprises. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I still have that feeling, and I also want to explain a bit as to why. If you look at Colomwani, we've been on him for like 2 years now. There was no even my grandmother knew that Juventus liked Colomwani and vice versa. But if you look at Ekator, Alajbegovic, these were a done deal pretty quickly. I think Kolo and Albegovic, I told you in the morning, even before they were official, before we did the podcast. So that was very quick because by the time
look, you told us Then you and I did the episode in
Yeah,
Bruges.
yeah,
Then people, I mean, we were actually pretty quick on that because usually you just based on our work schedules, it's hard to get it. But we
yeah,
were pretty quick on that. And then boom, it was done all within
yeah,
24, 36 hours, it seemed.
yeah, yeah. So I think that, especially with regards to now the halt surrounding Suzuki in terms of goalkeeper,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you'd think that if Juventus are that desperate, then the Suzuki deal, you know, they'd say, okay, we'll wait till Tuesday. We've waited for 2 months now. What's another week? But they don't. So, in my opinion, and this is something, if you look at Sassuolo and the Milan backstory of both Massara and Carnevali, they always had a plan B. They always got the spots filled up. Maybe not in terms of, quality being at the highest, especially not at Sassuolo, which is difficult to obtain. But there was always something going on, and they always had their backup plan. And it still to this day boggles my mind that if you really want Kessier refuses half of Europe and Saudi Arabia, and he basically texts you and says, "I want to join. Please let me in Continassa. Give me the 4-digit code to open the gates." But you still haven't done that. Maybe you're holding out for something better. The same with the Sola deal, Nico Gonzalez. We could have been proactive if we really wanted Sorlot. We could have just said, "Hey, you want Nico? We valued him at 30. You value Solot at 40. Let's do middle way. We give you Nico plus 5, done deal." Didn't happen. So for me, I don't know. But that's just my hunch.
Yeah.
My source doesn't know either, so I can't confirm or deny. But mm, there are too many things like running parallel now, and one or two things running parallel could be a coincidence, but when you see 5, 6, 7, 8 things running parallel, I don't think you can take into account that it's just a coincidence anymore.
Yeah, yeah, and frankly, a team of our current stature, unfortunately, and our current budget needs to have a zillion options because we will miss out on first options if there are other teams that are in the running, and or if a team prices us out.
Of course,
Yeah.
of
So
course.
Rob misses Farhad's sound drops. They still exist. I just elect not to use them. But if you tune in a week from today for our season preview, that may or may not have giveaways because I wasn't supposed to say anything.
Probably not.
Um,
Probably not. But
yeah,
yeah, you
absolutely,
know.
absolutely not. I bet you might hear some of our sound drops. So please plan on attending if you can. Um, Going back through I think and look, the chat has been so active today. It's been much harder today than normal to keep track of all the players.
Yeah, they're
So,
lit. Good
so,
job, chat.
so forgive me if I missed any of your questions on some of these players, but I yeah, I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, I'm sorry. You had mentioned Artur briefly earlier. And we discussed him on the last episode, basically in the sense that because we keep extending his contract, there's no amortization issue with him anymore. It's been amortized out. But you still envision some random team will take him at the deadline day, and he'll be gone, right?
Yeah, because we can't loan him out because it's his last contract year. So we can't loan him out with an obligation or whatever. So I think, from what I could tell, there's been some interest from Turkish teams, especially the Vlahovic team. Also for Miretti, by the way. But we never know, and that's the thing. My source told me, dealing with Turkish clubs is very difficult because they work with intermediaries. So you never know if an intermediary approaches you because they have several, if that's, the official intermediary for a certain player or a certain group or a certain team. So you need to, weed through the bushes and see what's real and what's not. But I think, the last couple of days you'll get them out somewhere, maybe even get in a sneaky million or seven in transfer fees. So I'm not too concerned, but we're not going to keep him. We're not going to keep him.
Yeah. I mean, even if it was like a couple euro, who cares at this point? Just take him and go. Like the fact that Pjanic has been retired for what seems like a decade and Artur is still on our books at only 29 years of age it blows my mind every single time I I remember that. Unbelievable.
Yeah. But like I said, and this is maybe, and that's why we need to be realistic about this. The things we did wrong the past 7 years just come to bite us in the butt, and that's how it is. If you don't win and you invest that much and you invest that much so poorly, at the end you'll get, the bill will get presented to you. And this is where we're at this point. And I'm very happy that we have a Carnevale Marsara, because I hate to imagine what would have happened this transfer market if we still had Comoli. Honest to God. And I'm not trying to have a dig at the guy or whatever, but I think Carnevale and Massara, just for this mercato alone, and it's not done yet, and what have you. But I think for what they've done, they deserve some respect.
Well, let's see what they do at the end, because there's two components here, and I'm just gonna respond to a Goatsy right here. Is that yes, he's 29, and I made a joke a few episodes ago that when I watch him play, literally looks like watching me in Sunday League. He can't really move. Every time he kicks the ball, he looks like he's in physical pain. That's basically what I look like. So the fact that he's still on our books as a professional footballer is shocking. And I am much older than he is. But sorry.
Probably also better than he is at this point.
I mean, I can pass. Our passing range is pretty similar. But to get back to your point, is there's two different ways to look at it. You look at Comoli's transfer market from last year, which was sort of a hodgepodge of reactivity and impulse. Okay, and so you say, I wonder what it would be like if Comoli was still in charge. Well, then if you go back 2 years, then you see Juntali and you see a lot of people. Now, I was concerned actually with his transfer market because he left us extremely imbalanced. But I think a lot of people were were giddy with, Coop Miners and Douglas Luiz and Nico Gonzalez coming in. And so we were giddy. He's doing Juntali's and then they all play like ass. Okay. So I want to be more measured when it comes to Carnevale. I like what he's done so far, but you cannot evaluate a market till it's closed.
No. Of
First
course.
thing.
But what?
And then second thing is you have to see how they start to mesh, right? Because I don't want to fall in the Comoli or the Juntali trap. Is my point.
No, but you're very right in that respect. I just like the fact that what we're doing has some sense of logic behind it. And you never know if it's going to pan out, if it's going to work on the pitch or not. But there is logic here. And there is this sense of, I need this player to want to play for us. You get that in every transfer that because we know Moani could have gone anywhere. PSG was desperate to offload him. And I think he could have made more money elsewhere. I think it's safe to say, probably.
I don't know if it's safe to say. I mean, with us all in on him, I'm not aware of any other team who was really banging down the door.
There were a couple. No, there were a couple. I know there were a couple, but not top European clubs, but still. Ale Begovic, same. I think he could have gone to Chelsea and earned twice as what he's earning now. So Lucumi, who is now all but official, the same. So it gives me hope. I'm not saying that I'm hey, wow, Carnevale Massara. I just like the way they work and the logic behind it. And if it pans out, all for the better. But the last 2 weeks, especially in Italy, are gonna be hectic, and there a lot of people. I've been looking on social media. I know it's done, and Mercato's dying out. No, it's just starting. Wait till after August 14th. and you'll see. You'll see. I honestly feel that it's still there are gonna be some sparks, and we're gonna have some amazing conversations.
Yeah, I think, to your point, I agree with what Amazon Queen says here, is that we're in big trouble if what Carnival is doing doesn't work, because we've had three straight. This is our third straight restart, and at some point we gotta build. So I am hoping that this just work out, Frederic. But I don't think we can call it. It's way too early.
No, but he has the trust of Elkan, and more importantly, the whole shareholders issue, because the
Mhm.
shareholders at Juventus are very vocal, because you have a lot of people that pump in a lot of money in terms of shares. They share that sentiment, and that is a good thing, because not only do you have your owner backing you, but you also have the shareholders saying, okay, this guy is onto something, let's give him a bit of time and space and whatever. And to me, that's a positive thing. And I think now, especially with the arrival of Lucumi, I think it's time for Spalletti to show us what he's got, because there was always this sort of excuse. Well, he came in halfway the season. He didn't have any saying on transfers. He didn't have this. He didn't have that. Now he has everything. He's been yapping about Colomwani since December. Well, here's Colomwani. He wanted Lucumi. Well, here you have him. You wanted somebody to, replace Kalulu because Kalulu was having too many minutes. Well, here he is. You wanted the Yildiz pivot or maybe bench player who could. Well, you have Bogan Albegovic now. So for me, in that sense, there are no more excuses for Spalletti. You could talk about the quality of the players or the lack thereof with some of them, which is true. But I feel that it's still up to the coach to make them individually better, make the team better. And then if management backs you, gets you the players you want in order to play the way you want to play, well, I think that
Yeah.
a reset, if there ever will be one, will be strictly from the coach's side, because I think management to this day is doing
Mhm.
what they can.
All right, we're going to be wrapping up here soon. A couple things that we want to touch on first. A couple more comments. First, Boj says, "Any chance you guys create fantasy leagues for fans? Winner gets some sort of reward." Now,
Ah,
yeah. So Frederic, why don't you
ah.
respond to this, because I think I know where you're going with it.
Well, we have a plan, and I'd love if you make a poll about this. To be
I
honest, if you
literally was
can.
opening up the poll page because I knew.
Great,
Look,
great
look,
bald minds think
look,
alike.
look, guys. It's the bald hive mind.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I
continue.
mean,
But continue.
we're
Continue.
almost brothers, soon to be neighbors, but that's another thing.
Oh
We'll
yeah.
share
No,
soon.
I haven't told my wife yet that the property next door to your house is for sale.
That's not even important. She just has to say yes and sign the
Yes.
goddamn forms and be on her way. I mean, that's all. But
Well, you're
details, my friend,
getting it.
details.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Continue. Continue.
I wanted to ask everybody in chat, and there's a lot of you at this point. Zach and I were thinking about opening up a Discord server, not just for the scoop, but for the whole Turin
Yeah.
Giants collective, where we just do Turin Giants things, and going from just post games to first impressions. We're still working on it, but we just wanted to know if there's if the demand for you guys is there. Because if you say, well, I'm on board and let's go, then we'll make haste and try to push it and roll it out as fast as possible, because we, or at least Zach and I, love to be close to you guys and chat with you guys and respond to you guys, because yeah, I mean, we just love the interaction, and we all have the same passion, and we want to talk Juve as much as we can. And I think having a Discord server is a viable source to do so. So for the people, for everybody in chat, I think Zach put up the poll:
The poll's live.
vote or die.
Well,
Well,
no, 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 no,
not
no,
as
no, 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 no,
dramatic,
no, no,
but
no, 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 no,
just vote, please.
no, no, no.
Just
So,
vote.
yeah. So, I think we're gonna try. We try to try. Amazing use of English. New things every year, and I think one of the things we've really enjoyed, and I want to be a broken record with regards to this, is the engagement with y'all. And we were thinking, can we do it more frequently than just our maybe 2 episodes a week? And we felt like there were Telegram groups, WhatsApp groups, Discord, and so forth. We felt that Discord might be the best way to go, and so please fill out the poll. That'll give us some data where we go back to the wider team and say, hey, this is what the people really want. How can we make this work?
Yeah.
So please fill that out. There was one more thing, and I'm trying to find the comment on. Oh, here we go. And this is another thing that we need your help on. Okay. We need your help because Dan Colosimo, who we really needed to talk with about an intro video to the Scoop. Dan, I hope you're still working out, because that means you've been working out for 100 minutes. Hopefully that'd be a hell of a workout. But we need an intro video. We also need, as Dan says, a Scoop tagline. And we could put our bald heads together and try to come up with something, but we have way more creative and people in the chat here. So please let us know in the comments, if you are listening after the fact, what the Scoop tagline should be when we post our scoops of the day, or we've got our red hot intel in, so that maybe we can do our own version of that. And the idea would be that it'd be catchy and not be as irritating. I don't know about you, Frederic, but Here We Go at this point is almost grating on my eyes every time I see it. And we try to have fun. So if the fun or funnier it is, I think is going to get more attention from us, because we like to have a good time. We like to joke around. This is sports after all. If it's not fun, then why are you even here?
Yeah, we can even, if we decide to do a Discord group, we can even have a channel where we say like, okay, we need a tagline, come up with the best taglines or whatever.
That's what Azaru said. He said,
yeah,
he said, don't bother doing it here. Let's just create the Discord and we'll discuss it there.
I think Azero is going to be a mod on the Discord group.
Well, I mean, look, you and
he's on his way.
Yeah. You're killing me here. Not and Mitch, miss the scoop and you're out of the loop is a good tagline in terms of the show, but not a sort of as a confirmation of a signing.
Bold we go.
Yeah. I'm still getting better.
Here we go.
Here we go. Oh, apologies.
You really need to stop smoking, man. I mean, it's
I don't even smoke. You smoke enough for both of us, okay?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, but I'm dying here. Still getting better. I've been dealing with this weird throat thing. So we have 30 votes in on the poll. And
that's not enough.
No, I don't think that's enough. We've got over 100 people watching. Please fill out the poll. We want to get some more data. Dan says, "Here we go" is genius. Yeah, hair don't grow. Here we go. But I know that is a little bit too similar. We can use that to troll Fabrizio if we ever want to, but that's probably a little bit too similar.
Yeah, it is. Also, I wanted to add, just got a text in. There's been some talk with Spalletti in these days off between him and Carnevali, mostly over the phone. And Spalletti still wants that physical striker. He says it's important for the team because now they have somebody who can build up from the back. We need to have weight up front as well for hold-up play and defensive play and whatever. And from what I could tell, there is this list of 5 strikers, but there's a name that we haven't spoken about a lot here, and that's Mateta.
Again?
Why?
Back on the list?
But why? Because it appears that they're willing to let him go on a loan without an obligation. So, if that's the case and you can get Mateta on a loan with an option and just pay his salary, I think, that would be a no-brainer. But this is not, confirmed, but still something is brewing, especially with regards to striker. And it makes me also think that David, especially given the fact that he didn't have any playing minutes at the Palermo game, is on the way out still. Scoop, there it is. That's it. That's it. We got a winner. We got a winner. We got a winner. We got a winner. Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my gosh. Well, look. We don't need to declare any winners. We don't need to declare any winners yet. We want to let things simmer. But there, I think there is a front runner. That is Dan. That's brilliant.
Dan, my virtual hat is off to you.
That's fantastic. Any more laughing, and I'm literally just going to cough out my lungs. Let's see what our poll's up to. 36 votes. We got 6 more. We'll call it. I think we have critical mass. 86% say yes. So I think what we'll do, folks, is, because we do want to find the most reasonable way to interact with y'all. Okay, the idea here is not to have some sort of channel where it's just like us dumping a message to you that you can't respond to or interact with, or you guys can't talk with each other. The whole point would be to interact as a community beyond simply these videos. So I think Discord makes sense. We'll explore alternatives as well as what that would look like, and hopefully get some more information out to you out to y'all soon. A crappy, if the older folks don't have Discord, and I don't know who exactly you are describing as older folks, but if need be, we can easily help somebody out. Throw up a 1-pager on our YouTube or something. I don't know how, because the idea is not, we don't want to exclude anybody, right? We want it to be accessible to folks. The whole point is accessibility for all of us. So we'll have a think. We'll have a think on that. Not all of us. I think the ages of the Turn Giants crew, and I won't say who is who, but the age of our crew is what, 30? I think 32 is the youngest, and 50. We'll say 53. Is the oldest. What you said. So I'm not pointing any fingers at Frederic, but we have a pretty wide age range here, so we'll try to we'll sort of do our due diligence as well.
I wanted to get back on the comment that I just
Creppy's 25. Wow, what a baby!
Wow, man, I'd give everything to be 25 again. Young, dumb, and well. So the Mateta contract expires next year. Doesn't make sense to send them on loan. They must sell him. That's why, and I misread the message. If they sell him or loan him out, it will be with the obligation. But they're willing to loan him out with the obligation, which makes sense for Juventus, so they can dilute the payment or postpone the payment, so to speak. And at least they know that he'll be sold, and we get him for free. Well, for free is a big statement, but we get him for a year. So I misread the message. So thank you for setting that up. Thank you so much.
And welcome, Fat Man. I'd be curious on how you and where it got recommended to you, but we appreciate everybody who joins us. Likes and subscribes help. And if it's not clear for folks new, that we just look, our program finished an hour ago and we're still here chatting. And we just love this. So thank you all. Yeah,
amazing.
I think Unholy Fun says nobody wants Mateta. The thing is, the player is not horrible. Like, he can do a job, in my opinion.
We had Vlahovic. I mean,
yeah, dude. I don't really want to talk about him. That book is closed.
He did send out a nice message today, I have to say, through Instagram.
Yeah, it was a tearjerker,
Yeah, you mean, especially, and to put that into a different kind of light, if you get Mateta on a loan with an obligation, and it won't be that hefty, it still leaves room for the future. So it's not like you buy somebody and you're stuck with, I don't know what kind of salary or transfer fee. It'd still be a cheap solution. And no, that's never going to happen. We won't buy Pavlovic back ever again. But like I said, it could be a path that's worth following. And I'm going to go out on a limb here. And as much as I like Circe, I think at this point the team would benefit more from a Mateta type of player than a Circe type of player.
Xerxes is not the type of player when you talk about a big forward bruiser. That's not Xerxes. Xerxes
So,
is really Jonathan David like, taller, stronger, but he wants to drop into the midfield and help the play. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think for what he does, he's very good at it. I think. But if you're talking about a bruiser who's going to sit in the box and with head balls, that's more of a Sorloth. That's more of a Mateta. That is not a Xerxes.
and the way that you know look at it in any way, shape, or form is we need that type of bomber because we have a lot of technical gifted players, but we don't have any goal getters. We need those poachers, those dangerous, always present bruiser types, especially if we continue to play this much down the wing. Because Kolomwani is not the best header in the world, and I think everybody agrees on that.
He's better than Vlahovic. He's better than Openda. And he's better than David. So at least
That's scraping the bottom of the barrel right there.
Well, no,
But
not now. You're right above the bottom of the barrel because we were.
yeah. And I saw Salman asking something about Jeff and Durmisi. I don't know about Durmisi, but I think Ekato is gonna be sent out on a loan.
And I think that makes the most sense. I think that makes the most sense for where he's at is in his development based on my evaluation of the player, as well as the team's going to have three strikers ahead of him. Whether David stays or goes, you're going to have three strikers ahead of him.
Yeah, and I think Sassuolo is a potential candidate because Sassuolo is the perfect contest for him at this point, and I think he'd do fairly well there, and it wouldn't be bad for Juventus to let him develop there.
We'll probably end with this, guys, because I think we've covered most things, and I have some things that I need to take care of. But
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, hit us with that. Then we'll
regarding
do a wrap up.
Regarding the keeper, where Tottenham would let Vicario go on a loan with an obligation a month ago, they now said, well, if he leaves to Juventus, we want money. So even our plan X is falling to pieces right now. But I'm sure we'll work something out, and also not confirmed, but via intermediaries. And if I say I want to make this, if a club asks about a player, they usually do it via the CEO or the sporting director. They get in touch with who's in charge at the other club. They say, look, we're interested in that player. Can we talk about it? Then they set up a meeting.
Yeah.
Whatever. That's how it usually works. When you're not sure, when you're just exploring, when you just want to know the feasibility, you count on intermediaries. And you say, well, we're thinking about player X, Y, and Z. Can you go out and see who's the best fit for us and who's maybe the cheapest of the bunch? So that's your job. Call these teams, see what we can do. And via intermediaries, it's been said that Tottenham have requested the status of Cambiaso. But if it's an intermediary, he usually works for another agent who wants to shed some light on certain players. So he needs to go and get information about two players, and he brings in player number 3 just to shed some light onto him or some hype. So that you can never confirm that. if that's true, if that's meaningful, if that's something to build up on. It just gets serious and can be confirmed once the club itself contacts the club that is willing to sell or whatever. So if I say via intermediaries, um, chances are there is something, but there's also chances that there isn't. But if I say club to club, if I say Tottenham contacted Juventus, it's confirmed by my source. If I say intermediaries, you never know if it's just a bait and switch or whatever. So
Yeah.
I want
Well,
people to have that, backdrop as well.
chat is universally pleased with the news that the signing of Vicario just got harder. He is not. I think, frankly, and not a dig at the person, but as a player, he's one that his recent performances leave a lot to be desired, and putting him as a starting keeper at Juventus would be crazy. I think it would be absolutely insane.
But
Considering,
it makes sense to me from a Tottenham perspective because you were open for Vicario a month ago. Now you know that Juventus is desperate. Why would you be as stupid as to loan him out and not get any money? If they're desperate and they want him, you need to fork out some money. And this is just smart business. I'm sorry, but we're so desperate right now. Everybody knows it. So no matter what keeper you're going to approach, every club will know, like, hey, this is Juventus'
yeah.
last chance to get a keeper in.
At the same time, if we wanted Vicario, we would have had him already because
Yeah.
the terms were favorable. We don't want him.
He's
Like
the
you said, he's
backup of the backup.
He's choice X.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people before him. All right, Creppy asks a collaboration with Beppe for folks new to either G Just Juve or us. Every Thursday last season, we had a joint episode with G Just Juve. Well, this year we'll be playing on a Thursday. It most likely. So we actually sat down, the three of us, when all in Brussels, and we'll try to work something out. I don't know if the schedule might be a little bit different than last year, but the intention is still to do a joint show with G Just Juve. We had a lot of fun with that last year. We had a lot of fun interacting with all the folks, many of whom are here today, interacting with his followers and his chat as well. So we'll see if we can swing it, and that news is sort of a TBD. Is there anything you want to add on that, Frederic?
I just hope, because we love, apart from the whole experience with the people in chat, and we just love hanging out with Beppe. And I think Brussels was a testament of that. We had great fun, and we're on the same page as far as our personalities go. It's just a lot of fun, and I wouldn't want to give that up. I don't think Beppe does either, because he had some fun with us as well. I think, and I'm pretty sure. But we'll have to. You can always, in his posts on YouTube or Insta, whatever, just tell him that he needs to, make work of it and sit down with us and get something done. But I'm pretty confident that we'll get. Maybe it's going to be on deadline day, but we'll get something done.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I think we should address this, and then we are leaving. Then we are done.
Okay.
The last thing is, because I think I said 30 minutes ago that we were going to do 2 more things, and now here we are. But after this, we are done. Juve since '94 asks about watch-alongs. Can I be honest with everybody? Is this a safe space? Frederic, can I be honest with everybody?
You have to be. You have to be.
None of us want to do a watch-along. We don't want to do it. Most of us are too stressed. We sort of have our match day ritual. And
it's me shouting at the TV.
Yeah. Well, people want to watch that. People don't want to watch me.
Like a lot of bad language. A lot of bad language. Especially Italian. Especially no. Me, it's screaming, throwing things, swearing, a lot of swearing. And but I'm gonna say one thing, Zach. I'm a bit more open about the idea now. Not for all games. I don't want, I know Beppe does a watch along for almost every game.
Yeah.
And hats off to him. I wouldn't be able to do that. But the occasional watch along, and even if Beppe would have had me or us on a watch along as well, I'm not sure if I'd mind. But we'll have to. Let's start
Look,
with the
I'll say this.
basics first,
I'll say this is if enough of you pester us to do a watch along, then we will do one, because as much as we have our game day rituals, we consider y'all part of our family. So keep pestering us about it. But seriously, it's me like this. Frederic spends the whole time like this.
Oh yeah. Oh,
the amount of texts I get from Frederic during a game. It's so maybe if you guys keep telling us, and I won't put up a poll because I'm scared of what you'll say. I'm scared to see yeses. So I'm going to use my authority not to put up a poll. But if enough of you pester us, then we'll do it. We'll do it because we're weak. We're absolutely weak.
Bogdan, make it happen. I know you text Beppe a lot. Make it happen.
Wait, who the hell just made a poll? Well, I guess there's a poll now.
And what is the title of the poll?
Watch along ? With a typo.
Nice. Proactive users. I like it.
So crazy. Ala Juve says just join Beppe. Bogdan suggests the same. The thing is, folks, and this is just like we can't invite ourselves onto Beppe's show. I mean, he's got his
Beppe's big. Beppe's a VIP. We're peanuts.
We're nobodies. We're nobodies.
We're peanuts. I mean,
so yeah, Bogdan I know has his ear, so we could push it. But yeah, he's big time. So we can't invite ourselves on to his watch along. Though I think that would be fun to get us three bald bastards together and just banter through a game would be, I think, good.
Well, you're gonna buy a house in Belgium soon, so that makes up for one difficulty that we're gonna.
Yeah, I was at first nervous when you said that because I'm like, what if my wife hears about this? But then she doesn't watch the show, so.
But I have her Instagram handle, so away with the charm offensive.
Oh, there we go. All righty. 26 votes in already on the poll. Say 73% say we need to do a watch along.
Nice.
I need to close this
We're
thing
screwed
before.
now.
I think I need to close this before it gets out of hand. Well, everybody, I promised that this would be the last thing that we talked about. Thank you all in chat who joined us. Thank you all who are listening after the fact. Thank you, Pinu, Schmosby, Matt, NoTube, and Mitch for your contributions to us. Honestly, that means a lot. You spending your time and those who spent their money to spend it with us, we know is valuable, and we really appreciate that and take that to heart. So thank you very much. Frederic, thank you for manning the phones.
Thank you, man.
Mark your calendars. A week from today will be our preseason episode. We probably will do 2 episodes in between now and then, at least a scoop. And if there's anything meaningful in the last friendly, something along that as well. So stay tuned with us. Stay tuned with the various things we're getting. We've got cooking, like the Discord and all that stuff. And until next time, as always, everybody, Forza Juve.